That is some amazing iced tea. Hey everybody, what's going on? Brendan Miller here and welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look at the cheapest topwater frog you can buy at Walmart. Now a lot of you may not know this, but I buy a lot of my fishing gear from Walmart. It's very convenient. In fact, it's the only store that carries a lot of fishing gear that's actually close to my house. So when I need something, I just basically run over... Shh, chicken, be quiet. Thank you. Anyway, like I was saying, Walmart is the closest store to my house that sells a lot of fishing tackle. And when I need to go grab some stuff, I usually just run up there and get what I need. Well, the other day I was in Walmart looking around and I came across a frog made by Ozark Trail, and it costs $1.94 at Walmart. Now, it was a shock to me because I thought Ozark Trail just makes really cheap camping equipment, but apparently they're moving into the market of very cheap fishing lures. Definitely a gold mine. So of course my curiosity took the better of me and I was curious, how good is a $1.94 frog? So I picked one up. I also picked up a Booyah Pad Crusher because that is my favorite budget frog and it only costs $4 or $5. Now upon first inspection of this frog, we can see that it is a traditional hollow-bellied design. And the first thing I noticed about this frog that is actually pretty cool is that the legs are short. When I buy a frog out of the package, I usually have to shorten the legs down in order to get a good walking action. But this one, out of the box, already had nice short rubber legs on it. And that was actually a really nice surprise. I wish a lot of other companies would implement this same idea. As far as the rest of the frog, it is a basic hollow-bellied frog. It has a collapsible chamber right here and 2 hooks in the back. It's got 2 eyes up front, a frog pattern, a paint job, a white belly, and a little line tie in the front. Now one thing I did notice about this line tie is that it's very loose and floppy. You can actually pull it out a little bit. On the Pad Crusher, the line tie is snugged tight against the plastic. This one, it actually pulls out a little bit, and if that happens, it may affect the action of this bait. Now, when it comes to the paint job, I will say I do like the Booyah Pad Crusher's paint job better. This paint job isn't inherently bad. It's actually pretty cool looking, and it's actually got some raised bumps on the top to give it some texture, which is an added touch. But overall, when it comes to realism, the Booyah Pad Crusher definitely has the edge here. One thing that really stood out to me about the design of this frog is the way that the head is made. The head kind of tapers and then kind of noses down in the front, and that's concerning because a frog is made to sit upright in the water, and if that bait is nosing down, it could have a tendency to snag seaweed when you're pulling it through. On the contrary, the Booyah Pad Crusher has a very streamlined belly with actually little ribs in there to enable this bait to track straight, whereas this frog just has a smooth belly. And this frog has a nice tapered head that does not neck down like this frog. When it comes to design, I'm obviously going to give the edge to the Booyah Pad Crusher, and what would you expect because it is a more expensive frog. But let's see what these baits look like when we get them in the water and actually start fishing with them. So I took this bait down to the test pond to fish with it a little bit to see what the action was like, and I gotta say the action was, not that great. The action of this bait is very inconsistent. Sometimes I could get this bait to walk a little bit, but most of the time it just tracked straight through the water, and it sometimes just went in one direction, so it was kind of doing this as you pulled it in. It was really annoying. But despite the inconsistent action with this bait, I was able to get a couple blow-ups on this bait, and I actually caught a bass with it. And that's when the next problem emerged. After I caught that bass, I looked at the belly of this bait, and a tear was already starting to form in the plastic. Now, this is a hollow-bellied frog. Hollow-bellied frogs are made to hold a pocket of air that makes them float. When you get a hole in your pocket of air, you automatically start to compromise the action of this frog because the frog fills full of water and starts to dive. And that was the exact problem I had. This frog had a tendency, especially after I caught that fish, to dive and dart under the water, and that again was really annoying. When I compared it to the action of the Booyah Pad Crusher, I found this Booyah Pad Crusher to have a way better action, way more consistent, and it walked a lot easier. Another thing I noticed about this bait is that the plastic is very thick compared to the Booyah Pad Crusher. It takes a significant amount of force to crush the cavity and expose the hooks, where on the Booyah Pad Crusher, it requires less force. Now this is big because this means you're going to have a harder time hooking up with bass than if you use something like this that has much softer, pliable plastic. And the last thing I wanted to test with these baits was the durability of the paint. A lot of times when you catch a number of fish with a frog, the paint starts to wear down. So I took some sandpaper and roughed these baits up a little bit to see how the paint would perform. And I gotta say, I was pretty impressed with this frog. There was hardly any damage done to the paint. I did the same process to the Booyah Pad Crusher, and I was able to see a little bit of the paint actually peeled away and there was a little bit of white paint showing. And this brought me into my next test. After I had compromised the top of the paint, I began rubbing it with my finger to simulate a lot of wear and tear, and this is where the Walmart frog broke down again. The paint just started smearing right off, whereas the Booyah Pad Crusher did not smear off nearly as much. And again, this is because this bait has multiple coats of paint on it. When it comes to the paint job, both frogs have strengths and weaknesses. The outer coating on this frog is tougher than the outer coating on this frog. However, this frog has multiple layers of paint, so the paint, once it starts peeling, does not just rub off like on this bait. So guys, what is my verdict on this cheap frog from Walmart? Well, I gotta say, for somebody that's on an extremely tight budget, this frog will get the job done. There are some compromises like the action and the hookup ratio, but it does catch fish. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. But if you have a little more money to spend, I definitely recommend you check out a frog like the Booyah Pad Crusher. In my opinion, this is the best frog you can buy on a budget. So guys, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check out my last video right here. And if you want to see more videos from the channel, be sure to subscribe right there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, stay hooked. We'll see you later.